Hello, everybody. Welcome to What You Need to Know Headlines. I'm Sybil Wilkes. It is George Wallace Day, and we have some very special guests. Hello, George. How are you?
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. It is George Wallace Day. I'm so happy to be with you guys, and I'm glad Jay Anthony Brown is not on this show because as of right now, I'm the darkest one on the show, and he would love to just get me to buy some lights. I can't afford lights on me, okay? I'm in a new home, and I don't have the lights to make me...
Wait, you can't afford lights, but you're in a new home. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, all right. We have the return of a favorite of ours from the Tom Jordan Morning Show days, as well as from the What You Need to Know headlines. It is the one and only Mayor Bill Campbell. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Sybil, George. Always a pleasure to join you guys, talking about what's going on.
And it is what's going on. There's a lot going on, Your Honor.
Yes, there is.
You know. And our special guest today, who is actually giving us the funny, because we don't get that often enough on Thursdays, is Steve Wilson. Hi, Steve.
I know she's not going to sit down in front of me and say that in my face like that. I've been here for 8 years.
I can't believe it, George. She cut you to the dark meat.
See what you get, Steve, working on this show. It's a good thing you're not here, Steve, because she'd be on your ass, too.
You know, I'm used to it, man. But, you know, hey, Sybil, how you doing? I have not seen you since we did the McDonald's commercial, so it's good to see you.
It is great to see you. The D.L. Hughley and the Tom Jordan Morning Show went out to L.A. for into the middle of Los Angeles, actually miles and miles outside of L.A.
Outside in Commerce, we was way out, and they had a fake McDonald's, and we were responsible teaching Negroes about their breakfast all day. So.
We had to teach them.
Yeah. Fake McDonald's, a fake McDonald's.
Oh no, McDonald's paid me well, so thank you, McDonald's.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
Hey, I ain't mad.
You know what I like to do? I like to go to McDonald's and watch old people with no teeth trying to open that plastic container ketchup.
This is why I love Uncle George right here. This is why I love him.
They can't get that plastic container ketchup. I love it just like. Where's my back scratcher? Come ahead, Sybil.
I don't know why he talks about his dating opportunities, but here we go. All right.
Wow. Wow. Sybil.
Thursday is funny to me. It's funny.
It's right in there, George.
You just never had a Sybil without teeth. Hey, don't get carried away. Without teeth ain't bad. Sometimes with teeth can hurt, you know.
You know what? I'd like to take this up to a higher level, George. We have a special guest today, a woman who has made news in the state of Texas, and she is no. It's you are who you are, George, and we welcome to our stage today.
Is she white?
Well, let you see for yourself.
I don't see.
I would like to introduce to everyone Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett from the 100th Legislative District. Hello, State Rep. How are you?
I'm doing well.
We're very proud of you. Very proud of you.
I'm very proud of you, but you seem like the strangest white woman I've ever seen in my life.
You are outside, and I know that you have been in Washington, D.C. boycotting the special legislative session for, is this day 4 for you?
I honestly have lost count.
Lost track of days. I can understand.
It's not been enough days, though. That part I do know.
Well, let me ask you this, because the special legislative session, let me tell folks who don't know, the special legislative session came about as the Texas Democrats in the state legislature, in the House, they walked out during the regular legislative session that was over Memorial Day weekend, and as the session was coming to a close, over the voting rights bill that the Republicans were trying to ram through the state, through the House. And so you all had a massive walkout. You left and did not return, and therefore denying them a quorum. And then the governor, Abbott, called together a special legislative session. And once again, as they were trying to create to push through this very restrictive voting bill for the state of Texas, you all left, not just left, not the building, you didn't leave the capital city, you left the state. And many went by plane and by bus to go to Washington, D.C. And you were a part of that contingent.
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me on. And no, I'm not a white woman. Last time I checked.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I promise you, I'm super black, which has a lot of them upset right now. But
Mhm.
it is my blackness that has me committed to this fight. You know, I'm only the 22nd black woman to be elected to the Texas State House as it is. In addition to that, you know, I wouldn't be where I am but for those that literally gave their lives. They gave everything. And so when I'm asked about the sacrifice of being in DC, you know, throughout the rest of the special session, to me, it's like it was a no-brainer. I had to do it. I've got to do it for those generations coming behind me. This is not a fight that I should be fighting, but I am fighting it. But I want to finally end this fight for the next generation so that hopefully we can finally have some kind of progress. Texas already makes it harder than any other state to vote. We can't, you know, I keep telling people we just want nice things in Texas. They don't want to give us nice things, right? You know, 36 states plus Washington, D.C. actually have online voter registration. Now, does that sound like it's too much to ask for? I mean, some may argue it's too progressive, but the reality is that the majority of the country already does this. And we can do it if we want to get a gun license. We can register online for anything except for when it comes to, you know, voting, right? And so what fraud exists in registering? Like the registration isn't where you're alleging that there's fraud, right?
Right.
And so what it is that we have very restrictive voting laws on the books already. So imposing anything new makes it even more ridiculous.
Mhm.
So I know that a lot of people are confused. They're like, they're talking about 24-hour voting. Well, we ain't never had 24-hour voting where I live, so I don't understand why they tripping. Right? Like people are like confused. They're like, what is that about? The reality is that our bill and most laws only state the minimum number of hours that someone has to be open. The rest is left up to the locals that are in control. We had a young millennial man of Omega Psi Phi that decided that he was going to think outside the box. And there was no maximum. So why not open the polls in one of the most populous counties in this country, Harris County, where Houston is located, right? Why not allow for 24-hour voting? Well, once they saw them votes coming in, they were like, whoa, 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 whoa. We did the analysis. Them black people and them brown people, they were taking advantage of that. Let's stop that, right? Or they were doing drive-through voting. So they didn't have to worry about dealing with their kids and standing in line for hours. They could kind of sit in their cars. And overwhelmingly, the numbers showed that people of color took advantage of that. So they're like, we want to take that away from you guys because we see that y'all are rising up. And let's go ahead and check y'all a little bit further. For any elections administrator or any elected official that decides that they want to send out ballot by mail applications, we don't want y'all to do that. Now, they're not alleging that they were sending them to people that weren't qualified by law to vote by mail. They just thought that's a little too much participation. That is what suppression looks like, is when you just don't want people to participate in the process, and I'm tired of it. And, you know, not only are they saying you can't send it out, but they're saying we will lock you up if you send out a vote by mail application. Now, what is criminal about sending out an application so that someone can exercise their right to vote?
Right. I am so proud of you, and I've been following you on Instagram. I was stalking you, fangirling you, because you just got into office in January. You just took over this position in January, and already you're making such a difference. And today, were you a part of the women who are out there protesting for voting rights? All of the sisters out there?
Absolutely. I didn't get arrested because I'm a child.
Okay, so you were not one of those that was arrested, like the head of the Congressional Black Caucus.
No, I couldn't do that part. You know, my governor already trying to get
trying to find you and arrest you.
I need to chill out on that part. Otherwise, I would have been down for the cause. But no, I was a part of it, but I was not part of those that ended up getting arrested.
So as you are having, and Mayor Bill, I also want you to join in on the conversation as a man who has been a part of the whole political scheme for years. But you were there in the halls of Congress. You were meeting with senators. You met with the vice president. What are you leaving with them? And what are you telling them that they need to do? Because you're doing your part.
Absolutely. And that's really the one message I do want people to get is, you know, we don't know where this fight is going to end. All of the media wants to say, well, what's your end game? What's your end game? Well, my end game is to win. But I mean, like, you know, you never know when you're going into any type of battle what the outcome will be. But I can tell you that if I don't get in the ring and I don't fight, I can tell you that I've already lost. So to me, we've given everything that we could by getting out of there, flying out of there, leaving our family members, not being able to really go back into the state without somebody trying to, come for us, right? We've done everything that we could. It's now on the Senate. If for some reason we don't get anywhere, it's not going to be because the state house failed the state of Texas. It's going to be because the U.S. Senate failed the state of Texas, along with Georgia and so many other states where they are trying to pass these terribly regressive bills. As we're having these conversations, for me, it's a little difficult for me to kind of do this political thing because I am a freshman. So I have not really acclimated myself very well to like politics per se. So I'm like, can we get to the point? It's cute to take pictures, but I'm just like, hey, tell me who's the problem? Where do the problems lie? How, where are those pressure points, right? And who can get me into these meetings? Because all of y'all know each other, so somebody can get me in, right?
Well,
first of all, you may be new, but you are doing the same kind of extraordinary work that John Lewis did back when he was your age. And in fact, John Lewis died about a year ago.
It was
and the John Lewis voting rights bill is one of the things that the Senate is considering. And I want to echo what Sybil has said. Your remarks and your poise and your courage has, I think, been exemplary. And it just shows you that there is the same impediments that were placed before our parents and grandparents, keeping them from voting. It's the same thing, as you say, it's Jim Crow 2.0. And when you think about the fact that Texas, which actually went for Trump, and so that's the remarkable thing. This is a state that actually voted for Trump, and yet they're still not content to have the voting opportunities for brown and black people. It's just remarkable what they're going through to make certain. We're doing the same thing in Georgia, as you know. And here, of course, Trump lost by 12,000 votes, and they've acted like it's a cataclysmic event that he lost. And of course, so what you're seeing is simply an effort to make it as difficult as possible to vote. It's no different than what our parents, our grandparents did, and they were able to overcome it. And in the last election, we were able to throw Trump out, and we were able to get a Senate that's at least responsive. And what we certainly hope, as you indicated, Representative Crockett, is that the Senate will eliminate the filibuster, allow the 50 voters, as well as, of course, Vice President Harris, to go ahead and pass the Voting Rights Act, because these onerous, heinous laws are designed to do nothing but keep us from voting. I mean, there's no other rationale for a state that actually went for Trump to be making these changes. And this big lie is being spread across the country. And it's dangerous, by the way. The news tonight is about the Joint Chiefs of Staff is finally breaking his silence, saying they thought there was going to be a military coup. And that they were going to do exactly what Hitler did. This is what's so remarkable about what we're seeing. This is history repeating itself. So Representative Crockett, you may be new, you may be young, but your energy and your passion and your courage is I think, speaks to the kind of person you are and the kind of representative that we need and what we need to see across this country, not just from you, but all across the country, making certain that in the next election that we remove all these impediments to voting.
And Representative Crockett, that comes from a man who was mentored by John Lewis.
Yes, John Lewis. I was privileged to have him. We shared an office together on the city council for 5 years, and he was one of my dear friends, and I was privileged to bring remarks at his funeral almost 1 year ago. And he reminds me so much of the same kind of courage that you're exemplifying right now.
That's what I like about you politicians. You ask them one question, they can talk for 5 minutes. Y'all doing a great job. Let me ask you two politicians. Do you think these southern states are trying to outdumb each other? Texas, Tennessee?
George, hang on one second. Hang on one second, Representative, because we want to get another leader in the Texas legislature on with us. And let us go and say hello to Senator Royce West, who has also been a part of this.
Is he a white man? Is he a white man?
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm a white man.
Okay, so Senator West, we have your colleague here in the State House. We have Representative Jasmine Crockett. You recognize Mayor Bill Campbell. We have comedian Steve Wilson and this other guy who just shows up every Thursday, George Wallace. And so, George, you were asking a question. I'm sorry.
My question, was just simply the southern states trying to outdumb each other. I mean, from Tennessee to Georgia to Florida, this is every week is a different rule trying to hold us back, suppression. I don't know what's
George,
going on.
And I'm pretty certain you guys have talked about the big lie. Number one, Jasmine, nice seeing you. Jasmine
Good
is
to see you, Senator.
a state representative out of Dallas, Texas, within the senatorial district. We have great leadership right here, and guess what? The best is yet to come from her.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, it's nice seeing you also.
As always, the senator.
In terms of where we are, I think it's been framed properly that the reality is there's no fraud here in the state of Texas. I mean, if it were, then we wouldn't have had to deal with this particular issue. We dealt with it some sessions ago. We had a Secretary of State. Now, understand this. The governor nominated the Secretary of State. In her hearings or her meetings, she indicated publicly that there was no fraud. It was a smooth election in the state of Texas. Guess what happened to her? They didn't confirm her because we believe that she said that it was a smooth election and there's no issues in the state.
Right.
Okay, so when you start talking about them these southern states trying to outdo one another, that's exactly what's going on. They want to appeal to Trump. They don't know what impact Trump is going to have in 2022. And so a lot of them are playing Trumpism as their main card, so to speak, going into the 2022 election to make certain that they have all of the people that supported Trump behind them. But I'm going to tell you now, we're going to make certain that we turn out people in the state of Texas not before. Here in Texas today, and Jazz, I'm back in Austin. In Texas today, we had a ministerial coalition rally here at the state capitol like I've never seen before in Texas, in terms of the commitment of ministers from across the state of Texas here in Austin. Never have seen that before, Sybil. And I know that the Reverend Dr. Freddie Hayes, James Bishop
down there today.
Dixon out of Houston, they were the ones that organized it, and they came together, and ministers from all over this state marched around the Capitol. Okay, and so I'm pretty certain that we will probably see them at some point in Washington, D.C.
We are in the midst of, as Senator West said, talking about what's going on. We are in the midst of what's really going on, our segment known as What's Really Going On. And I want to continue the conversation with you both. I know, Royce, when I contacted you earlier this week, I asked you, what are our marching orders? Those of us that are back here in the state of Texas, as well as around the country that are watching today. And so I'm going to ask you again, I know that you want us to vote, and I know that we need to register more people to vote. What are there any other marching orders that you would like to give to us, State Representative Crockett, and to Senator Royce West?
Jazz, go ahead.
Thank you so much. And it's good to see you, Senator. It's nice that you're not a fugitive. And you can go home. I think that it's important for people to understand power overall, right? We talk about the power that exists in the vote, but we very rarely talk about campaigns and candidates. And, you're seeing the type of advocacy out of the Texas House because of who is elected to the Texas House. And so I'm not telling anybody who to support, but it's time to go beyond just going to the ballot box. Mm-hmm. It's time to take other people to the ballot box. It's time to educate people about candidates. It's time to say, you know what? That person may not have the money, but that person's got all the heart that I need. So let me go and give my volunteer hours. Let me make sure I knock doors. Let me make sure I make phone calls. Let me make sure I send text messages, because I am living proof of what can happen if the people just come together. I ran a grassroots campaign. I was outspent 5-1. I also was out endorsed. Like, I almost had no endorsements, right? But I would not be outworked. And it was the people on the ground that made the difference. And so if you want to start making sure that government starts working for you, then you've got to get up and you've got to make sure that you are electing people that have your back. They're not bought and paid for by anybody else. People don't understand that in the state of Texas, we have no fundraising restrictions whatsoever. None. Now we want to restrict all of the voting that we can, but no fundraising. and when I say no restrictions, to give you an idea, one person in the House who barely got his seat back got $1.2 million from one source. He raised over $3 million, and $1.2 million came from one place. So you tell me if you believe that he's going to work for the people, or if he owes maybe some of that $1.2 million to the people that put that in. So, you know, it's about the education piece, making sure that people know this is how politics works. So many people don't understand the legislature and didn't understand our power, didn't understand what it was that we did. That's what I spent the majority of my campaign doing, is telling people, hey, if you want to legalize weed, you may want to vote for me, right? I would buy all these weed, right? They're like,
she got my vote.
You can do that. You know, no, that really didn't happen, especially in South Dallas.
She got my
I'm just
vote.
saying, like, you know, these are real issues. Like, you have to know who you're talking to and what matters to them, and make sure that, like, you hold people's feet to the fire once they get there. You can't, like, I didn't want people to just vote for me and then say, well, she's the incumbent, so I'm gonna keep voting for her. Nah, check my record. Make sure I'm still working for you.
And
once
hold
I stop
you
working
accountable.
for you, that's probably hold me accountable. Hold every single elected official accountable for what it is that they're supposed to do, which is to serve the people.
Steve Wilson, I see you. I see you.
Because I want to know how do we get this message out on a national level? Because I'm tired. See, I can say stuff that y'all can't say because y'all, and you know, you get in trouble. But I'm tired of them playing rich white people games with our lives. I'm tired. I'm tired. They can't get me, so I can be honest. Listen, over 1,000 people rushed the Capitol. Only 563 have been arrested. How many do you really think will do more than probation or a fine that's going to go to jail? They can do what they want. And I'm tired of them changing the voting. They just change it and make it the way they want to go. They can just change the voting. How do we go out and say, listen, how? Because marching don't do nothing but make Timberland and Nike more money for shoes. That's all.
Voting does. But voting does. And this is the prime example of a young lady like Ms. Crocker right now being in Washington, D.C. I've always said the problem with Washington, D.C. is too many old, rich white men. We need these young people in power like Ms. Crockett to get it in and change things. And that's why we're going to vote. And I think after Stacey Abrams gave the template, I think more black people are going to come out in Texas than ever before.
But then we gave them the power and they ain't did nothing with it yet. We gave
No.
They
They can only do so much. They can only do so much. You're going to see some changes.
What do we do to come in? I'm
Get people
tired
to
of
vote.
waiting. I go out and vote, but you only
Let
can
me-
vote every 2 years. What else can I do? I'm tired of that.
Let's ask the politicians here. Let's ask you, Royce West, what do you suggest to young Steve Wilson?
Steve,
Yes.
you know, we had a lot of prayers here in Austin today by probably 15, 20 ministers, okay? Praying to God that he would help us to do what's necessary in order to stop this foolishness that's going on. And I keep telling my minister friends all the time, God has given us the tools in order to do what we need to do. And that's the vote, okay? And Jasmine hit the nail on the head. It's going to take a national effort. I say to the women of Delta Sigma Theta, thank you for all that you're doing, staying on the front line. We've got to have other organizations like that on the front line, educating and registering people to vote and making certain that we get them out to the polls. We have the tools. Now, Steve, here's the other piece. We can't do it alone.
Right.
Yeah, they keep moving the goalposts. That's that bothers me.
And the reason they're moving the goalposts is because we're not voting their butts out of office. Okay? As long as they maintain the power, they can change the rules in the game. Okay? But if we do what's necessary,
Vote.
that is get people to vote, get in office, then we control.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If we're using intellect, Biden is the president now, right? And we use intellect and we went, how come he can't do something about the Electoral College right now? How come he can't do something about the filibuster? How come he can't do something about gerrymandering? These are all real issues and ain't nobody doing nothing.
Hang on, Steve.
Let me say this, Steve. We got three branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial.
Right.
Biden,
I just learned something new. I didn't know that, but go ahead. I'm just joking.
I thought they taught you that in school, but anyway.
I went to the Buffalo public school system. But go ahead, keep going.
Biden is in the executive branch of government, and it's the legislative branch of government that makes the rules. Okay.
Right.
Now he has some influence, but that's all he has is some influence, and so we've got to make certain we elect congresspersons, be they senators or House members of the House, in order to get those rules changed, the issues concerning gerrymandering, get those changed, make certain we get this voting rights bills changed. That has to come from the House and the Senate. And as it relates to the filibuster, it's a rule in the Senate, and which means that you've got to get the majority of the senators to agree, and the majority of the 60 of them to agree to change the rules of the filibuster. That's not a Biden thing.
So we're not going. So basically, you're telling me, for what I'm hearing from you and all of these politicians on this thing, is that we're just going to throw intellect out the window. Intellect goes out the window when it comes to.
Well, I think that's an oxymoron when you talk about politics and intellect. I'm sorry. I think in a lot of respects.
Let me just say this. Let me say this first of all. But let me tell you something that happened yesterday that gives you some idea about the hypocrisy that we're facing. You remember that during the Black Lives Matter protests, there were all of these conservatives who were so outraged, supposedly because of the protest. And so in Florida in particular, they passed an anti-riot law, which said that if you blocked an interstate, you could go to prison for 15 years. And that was passed specifically by DeSantis, who that was part of his legislative agenda, passed it, signed it. He was proud of it. So yesterday, they had all of the Cubans who took over the interstates all over Florida, from Miami to Orlando to Tampa, because of what's happening in Cuba. And they said, well, why weren't any of these people arrested under the anti-riot felony law? And DeSantis said, well, that's totally different. and of course it's different. It's different because they're not black. And so what it tells you is that the one way that we can make change, Steve, and everybody else is listening, is to vote good people in. Vote bad people out, good people in. And let me just say this. I happen to believe that Biden has done everything possible to live up to what we expected when we got him in office. Black people turned out in record numbers. He has done what he said he would do, and in fact has exceeded expectations. It's just that there are still the Trumpers, and they're still everywhere, and they're still trying to destroy the fabric of democracy. And the best way, but here's the one great thing, Steve: demographics rule. And what that means is Asians, Blacks, Hispanics, young people are continuing to vote in greater numbers. And the more we're voting and the more we're growing and the more the conservatives are dying out, it means eventually, fairly soon, by the way, we're going to be able to take the reins, all the reins of government, and move our country forward the way that it should be.
If we develop the coalitions bill.
Absolutely. We got to be coalitions.
We got to have
Black people, brown people, all
I'm
Native
with y'all.
Americans, Asians.
I'm going to fight with y'all. I'm going to believe in y'all, and I'm going to trust. But I think that's not going to happen until I'm about 70 years old. They just keep
that's only 5 more years.
I think you're wrong.
That's only 5 more years, Steve. Goodness gracious. You got to stop dyeing your hair, Doc. Come on now.
Like that's a long time away.
Don't you guys think what happened in Georgia, that every state has learned that we can make a difference? And I think Texas is going to make that difference. And I think so. I think it's great. I think we're going to see change soon.
Let me just ask you this. I know that you all have given us a lot of your time, and I really appreciate it. I know that we're.
Jasmine doesn't have anywhere to go. She's a fugitive from justice.
Right.
She going to jail. She going to jail when she get back home.
Actually, you know what? I'm actually supposed to be inside at dinner right now with the Congresswoman out of Georgia who actually replaced the late great John Lewis.
Yeah, Nicole, we ask, please give her my regards. We are very proud of her.
And also, Miss Crockett, if you're single, I'm just saying, go commercial.
Just saying.
Royce, we thank you. State Representative Jasmine Crockett, thank you so much for your time.
I'll be in them DMs, State Senator.
And stay away from comedians. I'm just telling you, just listen to my wisdom.
Especially old comedians.
I'm glad she ain't no white lady.
Just for men. I have just for men in the bathroom.
And please stay in touch with us and let us know how you're doing and how things are going and what we can do, okay?
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Pumpkin.
Oh, gosh.
Steve, you should be shaming yourself. That's a congresswoman, and you asking her to marry her later, trying to get some work done.
He wasn't even asking marriage. He wasn't even stepping up. He was talking about
we don't. And I just told her, first of all, we can do better as a community if we together. So y'all missed the purpose. Besides, every strong black woman is a weak man just taking up the space. Let me tell you something.
Well, you got that last
let me
one
tell you
right.
something. Not only is it a good line, but it is true. I'm telling you something. Black women are moving forward and they're taking over and they're getting the job done. And I'm incredibly proud of them. And for far too long, all joking aside, no, it was a very funny line, but all joking aside, let me tell you something. For far too long, Black women have stood. They have been on the front lines, but not gotten the credit. At the March on Washington, they would not let Dorothy Height, who was head of the wouldn't let her speak at the March on Washington, especially given what all Black women were doing marching along, Rosa Parks, a host of others. So it's past time, and I'm delighted to see them taking the reins of power and moving on.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Mayor Bill. We appreciate that. And while we are still talking about what's really going on, we also speaking about the other women, Mayor Bill, we do have a regular feature in terms of the Karens. And today, let's take a look at our video of our lady. I know.
Is this the Kmart? Is this which one is this one?
This is the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. She's not smart enough to know that, but that's why she's going to be charged with that. I'm going to let you know, see the lady, because my wife will be dealing with you. How you doing, ma'am? How you doing? She accused me of stealing a phone, ma'am. She ran after me. First it happened in the store, ma'am. I was kind of vibing when I guess she lost his phone, because I heard her say, "Where's your phone?" I seen the little boy walk over and punch her, ma'am. I'm looking for blinds for my family in my house. I go to my car, ma'am. She runs after. I'm recording right now, just so you know. She runs after me. Well, this is for my safety. She runs after me. She runs after me. Says, "You have my son's phone," and then I tell her, right? Yeah. And then I tell her, right? I don't have a phone. I pull my wallet out. I show her I don't need to steal anything at all. And if I had a phone, it would be in my pocket because I haven't made it to my car. Oh, I have it on video. Her accusing me. I have it. Her accusing me on video. So, I tell her, I'm not even gonna leave. Cause I have nothing to hide. But I asked her, so what's gonna happen? Are we gonna call the police? That's cool. But what happens when the police say I don't have a phone? Then what? Oh, I'm just.
So here's the deal, and that's not the part that we wanted to show, because we wanted to show this woman who did make the accusation, and it could have gone really way to the other side if this young man had not had the presence of mind, and it could have ended up like we had the day after Christmas in New York City, right, with young Kenyon, and so we're going to try to get that where and because she was wrong. The son brought the phone to her, and yet when he said, "I deserve an apology," and she told him to get the F out of here, or to F yourself. And so this is what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, as well as dealing with all the craziness that's going on in our state capitals, like here in Austin, Texas, and other states as well. And we just want to break it up a little bit, because we are, I don't know about you guys, but I am.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Really
Thank goodness. Let me just say this though: as exhausting as it is, it's still 1,000 times better than when Trump was in office.
Okay.
You didn't want to wake up when Trump was in office.
I agree.
So these continuous incidents are problematic. They're exhausting, and they're frightening in some cases.
Yeah.
But the fact that Trump is gone, it's time for celebration. Really.
It really is.
He's not all the way gone.
It's assault to me. It's assault to me. You call it an incident. I call it assault. I'm tired of people I'm tired of them getting away with just plain disrespect. I'm tired of seeing police officers pull over and they got a woman all hemmed up on the car, or some brothers on the ground being their favorite thing to say is get on the ground. I'm tired. Why don't you get on the ground? I'm tired of it.
Let me just give a message to our technical producer, Chica, if you can check your text, and if we can get the rest of that other video up, and so we can talk about this. But Steve, how do you find the humor in your day-to-day life, and as you go, and George, and do your stand-ups, and as you're returning to the clubs and things like that? How do you keep that lighter moment? Where do you find your humor these days?
The funny is everywhere for me. I can't speak for Uncle George, but I find the funny in everything. Like out here in California, you gonna speak politics. Mayor Campbell can tell you right now we got Caitlyn Jenner running for governor, and I'm just tired. Now we got the Kardashians about to run, and it's just too much.
You got to have balls to run for president.
You understand? And I said, listen, I will run against her and say, listen, you know what? She's a flip flopper, and I got proof. I'm saying that's all you got to say.
I'm trying to stay away from politics because I just want to laugh right now. I returned to the States for the first time in 18 months last night, right here in New York City, and I'm a new person. I am back, and I just want to say hello, I'm back. That's all I want to know. Does anybody know anybody that won the Publishers Clearinghouse? That's all I want to know.
Right.
So I'm having fun with the politics will come, yeah. But I'm sick and tired of what you guys do. I hate get on the ground. I'm going to jail if the policeman ever asks me to get on the ground. Now they're gonna beat my ass. I'm gonna be dead, one of the two. I can't stand to sleep and get on the ground. What's that all about? I'm here.
It's the level of difference. Yeah, I already know. I hate it because I know I'm going to jail. Because the minute you tell me I'm going, it's not gonna go well. I'm a man of intelligence, but I'm tired.
And Mayor, to your point, we're talking about this today, but unfortunately, we're gonna be talking about this 3 years from now. Same thing.
Oh, I pray not. I pray not.
How about that? Yeah, let's pray not, but yeah.
And I'm tired of, wait a second, I'm a religious guy, okay? And I'm getting a little sick and tired of these damn prayers. I know prayer go through, but we got to work sometime. To hell, I can't say that. I'm gonna say to hell with prayer. But we have got
Yeah, no.
we got to fight, and we got to show the people we mean what we're doing. And we got to vote. Everything goes back to voting. You got to vote.
Steve, I don't know if you know, but as a part of this show, we also talk about what's in the news, and our newsletter is called What You Need to Know, and we talk about the headlines in today. So if you would be so kind as to sign up for our newsletter, it's absolutely free. And,
yes, I will.
And give us your name and your email address. Just go to sybilwilkes.com and sign up for it, and give us your name and your email address, as I said, and it'll be in your email box every Monday through Friday.
Are you just talking to Steve, or are you talking to everybody?
Well, y'all probably already got it already. Uncle George, I'm new.
I'm hoping that you, George, get your newsletter, and I'm hoping that Mayor Bill also gets his.
6:32 every morning, but we need everybody to sign up. But Steve, make sure you sign your ass up.
I'm gonna sign up right now. That's me on my laptop. I got this new technology.
Your imaginary laptop.
Yeah, I worked for Tom Joyner for 3 years. I got a lot of money. This is my new technology. Hold on.
Well, let me tell you, when you stop working for Tom Joyner, that's when everything dries up. Trust and believe.
And that's the truth. Ruth.
But let me tell you what's in the newsletter today, Steve. And we're talking about voting and who are we going to put in office, and who are going to be those young people that are going to come about and make the changes. And our first story today is talking about Lee Merritt, the civil rights attorney who has been involved in a number of cases, including Botham Jean and others. Botham Jean was a young man who was killed in his own apartment by a white policewoman.
Right.
He has been directly involved in a number of civil rights cases. And I'm going to take my watch off, Yolanda, because I know the noise is making you crazy.
He's like another version of Ben Crump.
He is another version, but he is now going to make his jump into politics, and he announced his candidacy. He is going to be running against one of the most corrupt politicians in the state of Texas.
Oh, it's a white dude. He's running against a white dude.
He's running against Ken Paxton, who is the Texas Attorney General, who himself is under indictment. All right. So,
where is he from? Illinois? What is this?
Hey,
you're crossing.
Hey, listen. You know, everybody in Chicago, if you run for office, you going to jail. Let's be honest.
That's usually governor. They have a whole section in Joliet for the governors, the former governors in Illinois. But the wonderful thing about Lee Merritt is that his passion for civil rights and recognizing, as we've been talking about, the voting rights and the necessity for this. Ken Paxton right now is trying to indict a black man who thought that he could vote when he was still on parole. A 60-something-year-old black man who stood in line for 7 hours plus last year to vote in the primary, thinking that he could still vote. And now they found out that he was not done with parole. And
he didn't know.
He is now going to be charged by Ken Paxton and could serve as many as 40 years.
That's 40? Some bullshit. That's 40. Some bullshit. Yeah, that's 40. Bullshit.
40 years. So this is what Lee Merritt is going to be fighting for. He's running for the Democratic nomination, and then hopefully he will take on Ken Paxton in the November general election next year. So
people like that need to be put in jail. You said he's under indictment?
Yeah.
Yeah, put his ass in jail. I don't like people like that. That's just terrible that you do this. Put his ass in. It's at a certain point, some of them people need to have their hands put on them. Like remember when Rand Paul, who's a Rand?
The neighbor. Yeah,
the neighbor went over and whooped his ass. That's the problem. Mitch McConnell. Listen, I grew up in Buffalo, New York. I've been punched in the face a lot, so I respect people. Understand? If you ain't been punched in the face, you do stuff like that. Mitch McConnell ain't been punched in the face. Donald Trump ain't been punched in the face. Marco Rubio. McCarthy, they never been. Somebody need to punch them in the face, and then maybe they're maybe I shouldn't be this type of person. and women, and I need a woman to get what's the crazy because a man can't do it, but Marjorie, a woman need to punch her in the face because men can't do that.
Right here in Georgia, yeah. Bill, maybe you can do that. Bill, have a lady punch her in the face here in Georgia.
Mr. Mayor,
well, he can't. The mayor can't do that because that's a scandal. He can have one of his assistants do it.
That's what I'm talking about.
But he can't have her say it. He got to text her on the other phone.
Mr. Mayor, I think you're muted if you do want to respond.
Unmute yourself. He probably don't want to respond. He muted himself, Sybil.
No, I know.
Yeah, right?
You're not going to get the mayor talking about somebody getting beat up.
Hey, first time somebody ever muted themselves.
The mayor said, no, I ain't jumping on that boat right there, no.
Well, let me move on to another story, Mr. Mayor. Maybe you'll want to comment on this. We're talking about the numerous companies that came out and released a letter yesterday. The companies including PepsiCo, Amazon, Macy's, Nestle, USA, Target, and 150 others through their support behind updating the 1965 Voting Rights Act. They are urging Congress to enact the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. And this is, of course, legislation that would restore a key provision of the original law that was struck down by the Supreme Court in 2013. They gutted that for all intents and purposes. That's my word. I don't know if you would agree with that, Mr. Mayor, but what do you think? Do these things do they make a difference when you see the major corporations and companies writing a letter and saying, let's do something about the voting rights? We still can't hear you.
Oh no, your mic, you're muted.
I think he's muted himself, right, Sybil?
Yeah, Yolanda said she didn't mute. We're not hearing you, Mr. Mayor.
He's got a nice house. Seems like he could afford a decent computer.
You know what, George? You of all people.
Seems like he could afford it. Just press the button. Press the button, man.
There's a mute button. Just go like this. Click.
He just said ivory lips. He said, I don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah, it's just a button there. Anyway.
Well, hold on. Hey, Mayor, you finish talking and I'll speak for you. So listen, I do believe that I'm going to have one of my sisters whoop that girl ass. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I'm going to have her ass whooped 10 times. The mayor just said. I got you. I'll speak for the mayor. He laughing now. Thank you. See, he said thank you. I'm gonna have her ass whooped 10 times.
But these companies, what they do, they could do even more because these are big. Amazon especially, they got all of this money. I think they could do more. All of the companies that you mentioned there, if they want to help with the voting rights bill, and it just should be time to vote for one page, and that's what Biden wants to do. One page. You're born in America and you can vote. That's what it should be. Shouldn't be any more.
It should be easier, George. You're absolutely right. It's not Chinese physics or algebra or anything like that. This really
Chinese physics. What the hell have you been?
It should be easiest to go on Uncle George's OnlyFans page and it should be the vote. That's how easy it should be to vote.
OnlyFans, Steve.
Uncle George got an OnlyFans page. I subscribed to it several times.
Okay.
You know I'm only gonna hit you one time, right? You know I'm only gonna hit you one time.
You gotta see him when he do his move in his panties. It's awesome. But anyway.
Oh dear God.
I think just lost. Mayor Campbell just left. He done.
Steve,
has left the building.
I could stand up and show you me and my pants.
No.
Y'all don't want me to stand up, do you?
No. Let's
Don't worry, you won't see nothing. You won't see nothing. My junk has shriveled up so much, I think I'm transgender. That's
Is that what old age do to you?
you'll see next year this time.
Or steroids. I'm not sure which.
Steroids. May I press the button?
The mayor is done with
He's done with us.
Oh, listen. I'm gonna beat up 10. Okay, I'm reading for him. Okay.
He's calling Marjorie Green right now.
We're going to move to entertainment as we come to the close of the show. And this, well, I wanted to include Mayor Campbell in this discussion, but certainly you, George, and you, Steve, are either one of you baseball fans? And do you think I was one of those watching the All-Star game the other night as it had? Oh, okay, there we go. We have another.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
I had to leave the segment with those two. I think my old friend John Lewis would be turning over in his grave if he heard that. So.
If he can turn over, he can get his ass up.
and come help us. What's going on?
George, you have
Come back.
respect. You have no respect. Mayor Bill, what do you think about those companies? Just to go back a little bit, what do you think about those companies? Do you think that they're sending that letter to Congress and encouraging them to advance the John Lewis Rights Advancement Act? Do you think that's going to make a difference, or it can help?
I think it can help, but ultimately, this is the Trumpers are so committed to keeping the Voting Rights Act from passing because they're putting these restrictions in. It's not just in the South, by the way. You heard Brother Wilson talk about the fact that it's just in whether or maybe it was grandfather George talking about whether or not it could be only in the southern states. This is there's almost 34 states that are trying to put in these voting restrictions.
Yeah.
So it's not just the southern states. And these are some states that, of course, Trump won. So I think originally these companies have talked about not giving campaign contributions to those people who were in support of the insurrectionists. And now some of them are walking those commitments back. So, but ultimately, as we talked about this earlier with Steve, you're just going to have to vote the bad people out and vote the good people in. And it's going to take the kind of massive effort that we had last time when we were able to thankfully bring Biden in and eliminate Trump. It's just one of those times in our history, much like when our grandparents and our parents fought the same battles. We've just got to work through all these impediments, go to the polls, no matter what they put there, vote the bad people out. And then if we get another 2 or 3 senators in, remember here in Georgia, never would have thought that we would have had Warnock and Ossoff, 2 senators, one being the African-American minister of Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Dr. King Forks started preaching. So it just tells you all things are possible if we get motivated, we go to the polls, and we vote. And in fact, if we get another couple of senators, we will be able to eliminate the filibuster and really put in some really good legislation that will move the country forward.
And let's keep in mind, next year, 1/3 of the Senate is up for election.
And most of them are Republicans, by the way.
That's right.
We gotta get on it.
Work to do.
That's right. Let me as we're moving to entertainment, and I was saying to the guys while you were out, Mayor Bill, I'm one of the few people probably that watched the All-Star game because I really do love baseball. I'm a woman without a team right now, but I do love baseball, and I'm wondering, as I watched them in Denver the other night, do you think that them pulling the game out of Atlanta, where it was originally scheduled, do you think that made a difference?
Absolutely. Look, the greatness of sports is that it can unite and also unite for a positive purpose. You may remember they pulled the Super Bowl out of Arizona, passed the Martin Luther King birthday bill. So this is in a long tradition, and of course nothing makes the conservatives and the racists and the fascists matter than when big business takes the same positions they've taken on a host of other issues. So removing the game from not Atlanta, but from Cobb County. Here's the
Cobb County, right? Yeah.
Let me tell you, many of you may not even know that the Republicans in Cobb County, which is a county that's to the north of Atlanta, they had a secret effort, and they moved the Braves, the Atlanta Braves, out of downtown. They moved it about 20 miles north. They gave them $500 million. The voters, these same voters, Steve, that we talked about whether or not you can make a real difference, they voted them all out of office. And they voted all African-American, mostly African-American women in Cobb County. So it just tells you that you can make a real difference if you go to the polls and vote. So I was absolutely delighted that they moved the All-Star game. And of course, they were also able to honor Hank Aaron there. Billy Aaron was there. Hank's wife. So it really made us all very proud that, number one, they moved the game because of what they did in Georgia. Again, the Secretary of State, the governor, who, interestingly enough, Trump hates both of them because they wouldn't undo the
couldn't get that 11,780 votes.
Disaster for them. So they moved the game, and you may remember they spent $2 million on advertisements during the game, talking about how Stacey Abrams and the Democrats were responsible for them moving the game. I'm delighted that Major League Baseball did it. They honored Hank Aaron. It was a great game. And of course, the racists and the fascists here and the conservatives who somehow don't understand that making voting easier is the best way to have the response about who should control the public's right to decide. And that's all that African Americans and people of color and good thinking people want. Just make it allowable for all of us to be able to go and vote anytime. The easier way, it just gets you more participation. And the one dynamic that we ought to understand, more people voted in this last election than in the history of the country.
That's right.
Why would you try to undo more voter participation if you're not trying to put voter suppression in place?
That's right. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And the more clear we are with that, and just given those numbers. Okay, Donald Trump got 75 million votes, but Joe Biden got 75 million.
83 million.
Right.
83 million, right.
Right. So it's just simple math. It's just simple math, and we just got to keep it going. And we have to keep communicating because, and we cannot just rest on the laurels of a victory a few months ago.
Mayor, do you feel good about
continues.
Mayor, do you feel good about the next election in Atlanta and all over the country? I think we're going to do better than ever. I feel that.
It's so funny you mentioned that, George. I actually believe that the next election we will do even better than we did in this election because more right-thinking people. And also, let me just say this. It's not just black people and brown people, Asians and Native Americans. The young millennials aren't buying into this racist nonsense either.
That's amazing. That's good.
80% of millennials ended up voting for Joe Biden and voting on the Democratic ticket. So it just tells you that there is a massive shift. And as I say, demographics rule. The older, dying, conservative, fascist, racist are moving on, and younger people and well-thinking people are making a real difference. And I believe in 2022, we're going to see a massive shift, and we're going to finally be able to move the country forward. Finally.
And especially in your state, Sybil, in your state of Texas, I think you're going to make a
I'm waiting for us to become the Jetsons, but our politicians been holding us back for a long time, man. I'm tired of being the Flintstones, man, playing with rocks. My father was a crackhead. I'm tired of playing with rocks. I want to move to be the Jetsons.
Your daddy was a crackhead, and you gonna tell everybody on television?
Well, listen, I told all my stand-up act. Everybody know my daddy he used to be on crack, not no more.
Steve, I'm your real daddy, okay?
Okay, so there's the crackhead for you. Okay, all right. Okay.
Steve, you've been calling me uncle all this time, but I'm your real daddy.
Listen, and you just like my other daddy, you ain't leave me no money, so that's just
all he left you was alone.
I love that he quotes the classics.
Right.
Nothing like Motown.
You know what? On a serious note, though, Uncle George really is like a father figure to a lot of comics. When I first started doing stand-up on a serious note, I studied this man. I drove up to Toronto to watch him and Sinbad perform on Yonge Street at the Massey Theater, and I drove an hour and a half just to come watch you perform. And I've always been a fan of yours. And and it's a pleasure to be here with you and Sybil and the Mayor Campbell and everybody on here. So I'm a fan of all y'all. So I'm just glad that y'all invited me to come on. So thank you.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
They have a documentary. It's called The One and Only Dick Gregory.
Yes.
Yes.
Talking about how extraordinary Dick Gregory was in his advocacy and his civil rights efforts. And George Wallace is following in the same tradition as Dick Gregory and a host of others who have made a real difference through their comedy, but also through their activism. And I love George Wallace, and we all really appreciate everybody that makes you laugh. A lot of times there's great truth in what they're saying.
Thank you.
We're very proud of what you've done, George.
Yeah.
See, now it's too much. I don't want to give him too many flowers. Now it's too much. I want to say that little thing.
You better give me my flowers. You're not even coming to my funeral. You better give me my flowers now.
I'm gonna give you all your flowers, and like Eddie Murphy said, I'm gonna bust up in there. The upper room. That's how I'm gonna bust in your funeral scene.
Hey
Well,
guys,
thank you, Sybil.
I want to thank you, George, for really bringing forth all of this energy and wonderful sense of humor, and as the others have said, your advocacy, your passion for all of this that's going on, George. I want to add to that, and thank you for coming on every week and being a part of this and bringing your friends with you as well. And Mayor Bill, you're always welcome. Love having you. Absolutely, you are absolutely delight and so encouraging and empowering. And Steve, it's great to reconnect with you today. So I hope you will come back.
Is Steve a white guy?
Sounds right to me.
So when you turn the light off, I look like Uncle George. See, and then I turn it back on, then I'm white again. See.
I love you all. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it because my love for you does not require your permission. Next week, the wonderful Alicia Cooper and maybe somebody else coming in with us.
Let me, before we leave out, let me just also share with you what we do every day in our newsletter. And here at the end of the show, we like to share with you Yogi's Jewels, our daily inspiration. And today, this week, we're going to talk about time. And time is precious. Don't waste it on nonsense.
You hear that, Steve?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, shut up and listen to me for the rest of the show, okay?
Here come my buddy. Here come my dude coming in. I'm at work.
Aww.
I'm at work. This is Kevin. I'm at work. He just had to come here and bother me. I'm at work, dude.
And the last thing we want to do is two other great comedians who are a part of this show. They are in Duval this weekend. Take a look at this. And we'll see you all on Monday. Thanks so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Bye, y'all. I got to go now. I got to go to work. I got to go.
Jacksonville, don't miss Huggy Lowdown and Chris Paul live Thursday through Saturday at the Comedy Zone. Get your tickets at comedyzone.com.